We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. There's a point in every man's life when he stops arguing and starts observing. That was me, standing quietly inside a marriage that had turned into a performance. My name's Daniel Hayes, 36 years old, a small-town architect who built homes for families while my own was crumbling behind closed doors. My wife, Lydia, had once been the center of my world, elegant, brilliant, full of laughter that made bad days feel lighter. But lately, that laughter wasn't for me. It belonged to someone else. I used to wake up early to make her coffee, just the way she liked it, 2 sugars, a dash of vanilla cream, no foam. But she'd started leaving before dawn, saying she had early meetings. When she came home, she'd smell faintly of men's cologne that wasn't mine. I told myself it was paranoia. That's what love does. It blinds you just long enough for betrayal to set its roots. We'd been together 9 years, married for 7. And in that time, she'd slowly built her world without me. New friends, new routines, new secrets. Her phone never left her hand, even in bed. When I tried to hold her, she'd shift away, pretending to scroll through messages that never ended. I thought maybe things could still be fixed, that if I reminded her of what we used to be, of what we'd built together, she'd see it too. So when she mentioned her friend's birthday party that weekend, I agreed to go, though I hated those gatherings. She said it would be fun, and I convinced myself maybe she was right. I still remember how she looked that evening, a midnight blue dress, hair pinned back, eyes glittering with that confidence she wore like armor. She barely glanced at me as I stood by the door in my suit. "Try not to sulk tonight," she said with a teasing smirk. "It's embarrassing when you look bored." I forced a smile. "Guess I'll try to look thrilled while you pretend I don't exist." Her expression shifted for just a second, irritation flickering behind her eyes. Then she brushed past me, perfume trailing in her wake. The party was held at her friend Madison's house, one of those sprawling suburban mansions that screamed too much money, not enough love. Laughter filled every corner, and champagne flowed like water. Lydia's friends swarmed her instantly, each hug a competition in pretense. I stood off to the side, watching the woman I married transform into someone I barely recognized. Loud, flirtatious, craving attention like oxygen. And then, there was Evan, the guy I'd seen her texting late at night. A colleague, she'd said. He greeted her with the kind of hug that lasted too long to be professional. Her hand lingered on his arm, her smile softer, more genuine than the one she'd given me all week. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I just watched, the quiet ache in my chest replaced by a slow, steady burn. Later, when the lights dimmed and the music softened, couples drifted to the dance floor. Lydia glanced my way, and for a brief second, I saw the woman I fell in love with, the one who used to dance barefoot in our living room when it rained. I approached her, hoping maybe, just maybe, something human was left between us. "Come on," I said quietly. "Let's dance like we used to." She sighed, as if agreeing was a favor, but she placed her hand in mine. For a moment, the world slowed down. Then, right as I leaned in, hoping for something that could remind us of us, she pulled back, her lips curling into a smirk. And in front of everyone, she said the words that turned every eye in the room toward us. Words so sharp, they left silence hanging in their wake. Lydia's words hit harder than a punch. Her laughter followed right after, brittle, mocking, echoing off the marble walls. Around us, her friends burst into laughter too, feeding on the cruelty like it was entertainment. I stood there, frozen, one hand still midair from where I tried to pull her close. She stepped back, smiling that smug, cruel smile that only people who've stopped loving you can wear. "Oh, come on, Daniel," she said loudly enough for the crowd to hear. "You're acting like this is high school. Maybe dance with someone else. I'd rather kiss my dog than ruin my lipstick on you tonight." The laughter grew. Some faces turned away, others leaned in, amused. Champagne glasses clinked in the background, and the DJ's music faded awkwardly, leaving only the sound of her words replaying in my head. For a second, I wanted to disappear, but then something inside me shifted. The pain didn't vanish, it hardened. I smiled, slowly, deliberately. "Careful, Lydia," I said softly, my voice calm enough to silence a few of her friends. Because sometimes, when you treat someone like they're invisible long enough, they learn how to disappear and take everything with them. Her smirk faltered, but she quickly recovered. You sound dramatic as ever. She rolled her eyes, turning away. Go sulk somewhere else. Don't ruin the vibe. And just like that, she walked away, right back into Evan's waiting grin. I watched her go. Every ounce of humiliation twisted into focus. That was the night I decided I wasn't going to beg for her love anymore. I was going to take back my dignity and something much more valuable. Back at home, Lydia didn't say a word. She disappeared into the guest room, pretending to be tired, while I sat in the dim light of the kitchen, staring at my untouched drink. The clock ticked past midnight. I could still hear her laughter from earlier, still see Evan's hand brushing the small of her back. I wasn't the type to explode in anger. I built things for a living. Homes, designs, plans. I was patient, calculated. And that night, I started planning the blueprint of her downfall. Over the next few weeks, I played my role perfectly. Quiet, obedient, predictable. Lydia thought I'd moved past the humiliation, that I'd accepted my place as her background noise. But while she spent her days at work and her nights out with friends, I was digging. Quietly, methodically. One afternoon, while she was in the shower, I picked up her phone, something I'd never done before. No passwords needed. She trusted me that little. The truth hit fast. There were hundreds of messages between her and Evan. Texts filled with laughter, teasing, plans that didn't sound like office meetings. Photos of dinners, trips, even a weekend getaway she claimed had been a team-building retreat. But what made my blood run cold wasn't the affair itself. It was what she said about me. He's so boring, Evan, one message read. I don't even think he notices when I leave. He's more married to his drafting table than to me. And then another. I'll get half of everything when I'm done with him. Then maybe I'll finally buy the beach house we talked about. That line broke something final inside me. She wasn't just unfaithful. She was strategic about it. Cruel, even in her planning. So I stopped feeling guilty about what I was about to do. For the next month, I made it look like life was back to normal. I even started taking her to brunch again, buying her flowers, laughing when she mocked me for being sentimental. All the while, I was quietly transferring assets, shifting property rights, moving money, talking to my lawyer friend, Jason, who owed me more than a few favors. I let Lydia believe she was winning, that I was still the same naive husband who couldn't see her lies. But beneath that calm surface, I was stripping her of the foundation she thought she owned. Every contract she'd co-signed for her interior design business, I revised them under my name. Every property deed I'd financed under our joint account, quietly redirected. Meanwhile, I gathered evidence, texts, emails, even photos she'd carelessly synced to our cloud drive. I documented everything, not for confrontation, but for control. One evening, she came home late again, perfume heavy and hair tousled. Rough day, I asked from the couch. She barely looked up. You wouldn't understand. Oh, I think I might, I said, watching her toss her bag onto the counter. By the way, I booked us something special next weekend. Thought it'd be nice to spend time together. Her brow furrowed, suspicious. Since when you plan dates? Since I realized I've been taking you for granted, I replied. My voice was steady, almost too calm. You'll love it. It's at Madison's place. She's throwing another party. She perked up. Oh, really? Perfect. Maybe this time you'll actually have fun, instead of brooding in the corner. I smiled, concealing the storm beneath my ribs. Yeah, maybe this time I will. That next Saturday, as we drove toward the glowing mansion again, Lydia hummed along to the radio, oblivious to the quiet war she'd already lost. She looked like victory in a dress, but the only one celebrating tonight would be me. Because this time, I wasn't the fool standing in the corner. This time, I had something planned, something she wouldn't forget as long as she lived. The night of the second party felt eerily familiar. Same crowd, same music, same shallow laughter echoing through the hall. But something had changed. This time I was ready. Lydia looked flawless, draped in a silver gown that shimmered under the lights. Every man's gaze lingered on her, and she loved it. I could tell by the way she moved, like attention itself was oxygen. You're quiet tonight, she said as we walked in. I smiled, just taking it all in. She smirked, mistaking my calm for weakness. Try not to embarrass me again, Daniel. Her words might have stung once. Not tonight. Tonight, I was the one holding the strings. Earlier that day, I had sent Madison, her closest friend, a thank you email with a few attachments. I'd written that Lydia and I had hit a rough patch and that I wanted to surprise her with a tribute video. Inside that email, though, wasn't a slideshow of our wedding photos. It was a carefully edited sequence of messages, pictures, and screenshots. Every piece of proof showing Lydia's affair with Evan. I made sure it looked like I'd accidentally attached the wrong file. And Madison? She was known for one thing, spilling secrets faster than a broken faucet. By the time we entered the mansion that night, I could already feel the air shifting. Conversations paused when we walked by. People exchanged looks they thought I couldn't see. Lydia noticed it too. Her smile wavered for half a second before she brushed it off. We mingled like usual. She drifted away to gossip with her friends while I stood near the bar, pretending to scroll my phone. I caught sight of Evan across the room, leaning against a column, his tie loose, smirking at Lydia in that smug, careless way. If only he knew. I waited patiently as the evening unfolded. The DJ lowered the music for a toast, and Madison clinked her glass. Everyone, before we dive into dessert, I have something interesting to share. The crowd turned. Lydia's head tilted in curiosity, her hand lightly resting on Evan's arm. Madison grinned. Lydia, darling, this might shock you, but someone accidentally sent me a video today. Well, let's just say it's not the kind of thing you show at family gatherings. My chest tightened, not with fear, but with anticipation. Lydia's smile faltered. What are you talking about? Madison gestured toward the screen on the far wall, where moments ago, party photos had been playing. The lights dimmed slightly as the video began. It started innocently enough, a picture of Lydia and Evan at a restaurant, laughing. Then came the screenshots, late-night texts, selfies, hotel reservations. Each slide landed like a blade cutting through the tension. Gasps filled the room. Lydia's face drained of color. Turn that off, she shouted, stumbling toward the projector. But Madison only stepped back. You might want to see the ending, she said coolly. The last slide appeared, a message from Lydia's phone, timestamped just a week earlier. Don't worry, Evan. Once I'm done with Daniel, half of everything is ours. A silence so deep fell across the room that I could hear the faint hum of the projector fan. Lydia turned toward me, trembling. Daniel, what did you do? I stepped forward, my voice calm but cutting through the air like glass. Nothing you didn't already start. People began whispering, phones flashing as gossip spread like wildfire. Lydia's friends, once her biggest cheerleaders, now avoided her eyes. Evan tried to slip out quietly, but I wasn't done. Leaving already, Evan? I said, my tone casual. You might want to stick around. After all, I heard you like things messy. He froze, glaring at me, then pushed past the crowd and left. Lydia followed, but I caught her wrist gently. No, Lydia, I said, my voice steady. You've always loved attention. Don't run now. Enjoy it. Her eyes filled with tears, part rage, part humiliation. You planned this. I met her gaze. I didn't plan your choices. I just stopped cleaning up after them. She slapped my chest with a trembling hand, but I didn't flinch. You ruined me. I leaned closer, lowering my voice, so only she could hear. No, Lydia. You ruined yourself the day you laughed at me in front of everyone and called me a joke. Tonight, I just returned the favor. Then I turned away, leaving her standing there under the weight of her own collapse. I stepped out onto the balcony, the night air cool against my skin. Inside, whispers turned into murmurs, and murmurs into chaos. Madison's attempt at drama had become Lydia's social execution. I didn't smile. Revenge doesn't always taste sweet. It just brings silence where pain used to live. A few minutes later, I heard the click of heels behind me. Madison. Daniel, she said softly. That was brutal. She earned it, I replied. Madison hesitated, studying me. You know, most men would have just walked away. I did, I said. I just made sure she couldn't follow. She gave a faint nod and returned inside. I stayed a little longer, looking out over the city lights below, realizing how strangely calm I felt. When Lydia finally came outside, mascara streaked down her cheeks. You destroyed my reputation, she hissed. I looked at her one last time. You destroyed our marriage. This is just the receipt. The next morning, I filed for divorce. I didn't gloat. I didn't post anything online. I simply handed the world back to her, stripped of the power she used to hurt me. A month later, the house, cars, and savings were all legally mine. Every asset she once bragged about owning had already been signed over before she ever realized it. She tried to fight it, but with the evidence I'd gathered, she didn't stand a chance. She moved into a small apartment across town, while I returned to the quiet house we'd built together. I spent that first evening there alone, drinking coffee at the kitchen counter, where we'd once planned our future. It wasn't triumph I felt. It was peace, the kind that comes when you finally stop chasing the approval of someone who was never worth the effort. Weeks passed, and the silence in that house became something I learned to appreciate. No more whispered phone calls behind closed doors. No perfume lingering in the hallway at midnight. Just peace, and the sound of a man rebuilding his life from the ashes of someone else's deceit. At first, I didn't know what to do with all the quiet. I'd wake up and instinctively make 2 cups of coffee before realizing there was no one else to drink the second one. I'd open my phone and scroll through old photos, my finger hovering over the delete button but never pressing it. Healing doesn't happen overnight. It happens in moments you don't expect. One afternoon, I walked through the workshop behind the house, the same one Lydia used to call your cave. It was dusty and cluttered, full of half-finished furniture and sketches. For the first time in months, I picked up a piece of wood and started sanding it down. The rhythm steadied me. By evening, I built something simple, a coffee table. Nothing grand, but honest. Real. Something I made for myself, not for someone else's approval. People started reaching out after what happened. Some pitied me. Others admired the way I handled it. But I didn't care about anyone's opinions anymore. I had spent too long living to keep up appearances, trying to please someone who had already moved on in her heart. I saw Lydia once after that, at a cafe downtown. She looked smaller somehow, not in height, but in presence. Gone was the sharp confidence that used to draw attention from every room. She saw me, hesitated, and walked over. "Daniel," she said quietly, almost nervous. "You look different." "Free," I replied simply. She gave a weak smile. "I didn't think you'd actually go through with it all." I nodded. "You thought I'd forgive you forever. That's what you counted on." She lowered her gaze. "I made mistakes." "Yeah," I said softly, but the biggest one wasn't cheating. It was thinking I'd never open my eyes. For a long moment, we just stood there. She looked like she wanted to say something more, maybe an apology, maybe an excuse, but in the end, she just whispered, "I hope you're happy." "I am," I said, and I meant it. When she left, it didn't hurt. It didn't burn. It just ended. Like the last page of a story I'd finally finished reading. Months later, my business began to grow faster than ever. A local magazine did a feature on my custom designs, and orders started pouring in. But the real reward wasn't financial. It was waking up each morning with a sense of calm I hadn't felt in years. I wasn't bitter anymore. Lydia had taught me something, even if unintentionally, that no one could take your worth unless you hand it to them. I had handed mine away for years, hoping love would fix what respect had already abandoned. Now, I was taking it back piece by piece. On quiet evenings, I'd sit outside on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in gold. I'd think about how far I'd come, from humiliation to healing, from anger to acceptance. I didn't want revenge anymore. I'd already had it, not through ruin, but through peace. That was the part she'd never understand. Because when someone wrongs you, the real victory isn't destroying them. It's showing them they no longer have the power to destroy you. And as I sat there, sipping my coffee, a small smile crept across my face. The same man who'd once stood silent in a crowded room while everyone laughed at him was finally laughing too, not out of spite but out of freedom. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't loud. It's just living a life that doesn't need explaining anymore.